Hi everyone, this is Sara Williams with Midnight Greenery again. We're here discussing Article 3, marijuana retail stores of the Chapter 306 regulations for the marijuana industry. So we're going to discuss today Article 3. Article 3 covers quite a bit, and I'm actually pretty disappointed in the business acumen of Article 3. So let's get started. Starting with Section 300. Once again, the comment section, the description section will have your link if you want to follow along with what we're discussing here. So it starts out with breaking down the sections. It covers things like the license required, the retail store privileges, the acts prohibited, application restricted area, a marijuana handler permit license required, identification permit or requirement to prevent sale to underage, limits on quantity sold, health and safety requirements, testing requirements, restriction on the advertising, and marijuana inventory tracking system. So we'll get started with the first one of 3 AAC 306.300, marijuana retail store license required. Now this sentence here, I have one problem with one word. You tell me if you know what it is. Let's start out with, a person may not sell, give, distribute, or deliver, or offer to sell, give, distribute, or deliver marijuana or any marijuana product to a consumer unless the person has obtained a marijuana retail store license from the board in compliance with this chapter, or is an employee or agent of a licensed retail marijuana retail store operating in compliance. So the word is give, right? Gifting. Absolutely gifting. So this whole community is based on sharing is caring, right? We have that can of community sense of sharing is caring, giving. So does this say that if I grow a personal grow, a home grow of my 6 plants or whatnot, and I gift some of that product to a friend in need, did I just violate that chapter? Gifting. Why are we scared of giving it to other people? Are we scared of it hurting someone? Now, I may in a way understand alcohol, because too much alcohol and a strong moonshine could possibly kill somebody. But marijuana doesn't kill people. So because of that, are we scared of what? What's the giving aspect of it? Under ballot measure 2, it says you can give. Gifting is fine. You just can't sell or distribute, or maybe in this case, deliver for commercial use. So maybe a change of definition on that statement, because giving, a lot of people are just, why create a regulation that you spend all your time enforcing because people they're not gonna respect the giving aspect of it. Now for commercial use, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, so that's number 1. So a person seeking a marijuana retail store license must, 1, submit an application, of course, operate in compliance, and then operate in compliance with all the provisions of Article 3 and operate in compliance with all the provisions of Article 7. All right, so that's what that covers. Again, my biggest problem with that situation is the give. Is a person may not give marijuana to another person unless they have a commercial license. That sentence right there, a little confusing on that. So, next section, marijuana retail store privileges. Give some definitions. A licensed marijuana retail store is authorized to carry out the activities listed. So 1, deliver means hand to a person who purchases the product on the licensed premise. Deliver does not mean transfer or transport to a consumer off the licensed premise. This is where I really believe that a delivery service permit needs to be implemented. Because as much as I'm not a fan, and we all know this, of discrete deliveries and the way that they are operating outside of the law currently, I believe a delivery service is extremely important. I believe people that want, people who are homebound, who have health issues, who can't leave their home or have a difficulty leaving their home, and they need a medical marijuana product or a retail marijuana product, they need that service. So a delivery service has its benefits, and yet in all of these regs they've never discussed that a delivery service should be possible. Now I know this comes from, well, you can't deliver alcohol, therefore you should not be able to deliver marijuana. Just because you can't do it with alcohol doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to do it with a plant-based, not gonna kill you kind of product. So just some things to think about there. All right, so number 2 there, the definition of possess. Possess means having physical possession or control over property. Sounds like a legitimate statement to me. Number 3, transport or transfer means to deliver between licensed marijuana establishments as provided in Article 7. So Article 7 does clearly state where you can deliver things, and nowhere in Article 7 does it state that you can deliver from a retail facility to an individual. So we'll discuss that next time. B on that, a licensed marijuana retail store is authorized to sell marijuana purchased from a licensed cultivation facility, packaged and labeled under, it'll be Article 4, it looks like, in an amount not exceeding the limits set out in this article, to an individual on the licensed premises for consumption off the premises. So let's put into effect a liquor store, right? A liquor store, you go in, they sell it to you, you consume it off premise. Right? Not on the premise. Now, the one thing that we all know, none of these regs have any type of a bar situation. So you can go into a bar and you can buy alcohol and you can consume it on premise. Right? Cannabis, you can't do that at this point in time. And that's unfair. We know that as cannabis users, that they haven't considered that social club aspect and really giving the cannabis user another opportunity to consume instead of in their home, in their car, places they shouldn't be consuming based on public law, right? So all of that means, however, that in this case, a retail store is only for consumption off premise, not consumption on, according to this license. Number 2 there, a retail store is licensed to sell a marijuana product purchased from a licensed product manufacturer, edibles company, concentrates, whatnot, packaged and labeled in an amount not exceeding the limits, and also for consumption off the licensed premise. So that's page 2. Moving on to page 3, start to get some more highlights and some more notes here. Number 3 section of that says that a licensed retail facility must store marijuana and marijuana products in a restricted area on the licensed premise subject to the requirements of Article 7. Talk about that. This section does not prohibit a licensed retail store from refusing to sell marijuana or marijuana product to any customer. So I like that. I like that you have somebody come in. I personally would probably have an ethical concern with selling someone who came in clearly inebriated and drunk. I'm not sure I'd want to sell them cannabis. We know that alcohol increases the potency of cannabis, so I'm not sure, so I would want to be able to refuse them. And I think as a retail store that's important to be able to have that option to do so. All right, so the next section, 310, acts prohibited at a marijuana retail store. So a marijuana retail store may not sell, give, distribute, or deliver, or offer to sell, give, distribute, or deliver to 1, any person under 21, of course. 2, that's not labeled and packaged as required under Article 4 or Article 5. 3, in a quantity exceeding the limit set out in this section. 4, or over the internet. So you can't give over the internet, you can't sell over the internet, you can't deliver over the internet or distribute. So in Colorado, they allow for companies to use their Facebook page and give away a product as a giveaway on their Facebook page. I can understand that you wouldn't want to sell it, but why limit the over the internet? Now, in the end, you also cannot sell to a person under 21. So if they ordered on the internet, let's just say a delivery service, right? They order on the internet. When that delivery service gets there, they check their ID. Right? So if any type of an investigator wants to run a sting, that would be the compliance capability, is that they order over the internet, they get it. Let's say it's a will call situation. Well, they order over the internet and they pick it up in the store. They still have to check their ID. It's not as if they're ordering it over the internet and you're mailing it to them. So why are they trying to avoid over the internet? What's the fear there? What are they scared of? I'm concerned with on that one. Again, oh, okay, so then we move on to number 5. number 5 on that page, after the expiration date shown on the label of the marijuana or marijuana product. It'll be interesting to know what the expiration date is of dry herb, if stored in the correct way, or what the expiration date is of an edible or an oil, for that matter. Coconut oil I've had in my, refrigerator for a long time. So what's the expiration date, and how are they going to determine that? I'm curious about that one. I'm sure that'll probably come out in some sort of testing regs on that one. Section C of that, a licensed retail store may not conduct any business on or allow any person to access the marijuana retail store's licensed premises between the hours of 12 midnight and 8 a.m. each day. So this says that your hours as a retail store will be guaranteed at 12 midnight, your closing, to 8 a.m. Each day. However, what if the delivery for product is at 7:30? Because a lot of people do early morning deliveries because you don't want to do them during open hours to impact customers, so they do early morning deliveries, right? So why not state that a licensed marijuana retail store may not conduct any business or allow any consumer to access, or customer to access? Because again, I'm not a big fan of the Marijuana Control Board telling me when I can't do business if I'm not accessing the customer. If I'm doing business, like business transactions, if I'm making deals, and if it's 12:05 in the morning and I'm still making a deal, I'm still working with a cultivation facility at that time, I'm not going to stop. And is somebody going to be like, whoa, you worked at 12:10 in the morning, how dare you? Like, that's not going to work. So, but I do understand that hours, all right, let's look at this like liquor. Hours can be restricted 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. You can't have your retail store open at that time for consumers. But at this moment, I'm only reading in this that conduct any business. So the back-end inventory side of things, I can't conduct any business for that. I don't know. I don't like being restricted to that level. I don't like that I couldn't do inventory at 1 o'clock in the morning if I needed to pull an all-nighter for some of my my employees rather. So it's just something to think about on that. Number 2, a licensed retail marijuana store may not allow any person to consume marijuana or any marijuana product on the marijuana retail store's licensed premise. So I've been into liquor stores where they allow you to have a sample, tiny sample, but a sample nonetheless. And this is a problem, of course, with, are we scared? Rather, question, are we scared about people consuming and driving? Is that the fear? If that's the case, then samples at liquor stores, if they're just a little bit, is that going to negatively impact someone? If that's a controlled sample, is that going to impact their driving? Of course, what's the personal responsibility of someone saying, no, I'm driving, I'm not going to consume? Where's the fine line there? So, I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about whether or not I want to fight that one or not, but it's something to think about on that. So then we move on to page 4, and the highlights in the notes get worse. So page 4, number 3, a licensed marijuana retail store may not offer or deliver to a consumer as a marketing, promotion, or any other reason the following items. So here's where we get into promotion and marketing, which is my forte. 1, you cannot offer free marijuana or marijuana product, including a sample. B, you cannot offer marijuana or marijuana product at a price below the marijuana retail store's acquisition cost. And then we'll talk about C here in a second. So let's talk about A and B. So A, free marijuana or marijuana product. The board is telling a business that they cannot give a free product away. Not a sample, not a giveaway, any of that state. You can't give a free product away. Now, this is a tested product. This is a safe product. This is a product that the consumer knows what they're getting. But why can't I, as a retail establishment, give that away to a consumer? I don't know. I don't think that that's fair, and that's business smart at all. Two, the marijuana or marijuana product at a price below the marijuana store's acquisition cost. Let's look at retail stores like, I don't know, Nordstrom, or even JCPenney's, right? They will sell something at below its acquisition cost to try and get something back, just to try some money. So what happens if I buy a pound at, I don't know, $3,200, right? And all of a sudden the market is inflated, supply is way crazy, demand is okay, but supply is out of control. I'm gonna have to drop my price. Absolutely gonna have to drop my price. So I drop my price, and I drop it to, I don't know, $2,500 a pound. But I paid 32, so now, but I'm just trying to recover cost. So this regulation right here, this sentence requires the business to take a loss. Instead of being able to try to recover some sort of cost, they have to throw away product instead of trying to make some sort of a special or something to recover the cost. I don't understand the business acumen there. I don't understand why they want to make it so that the business has to take a loss if the economy of the industry will not allow for the acquisition price to be paid for it. I don't understand. Here's C. And C is extremely out there. C says, well, let's just get to it. So C, a consumable product. So a marijuana retail store may not offer a consumable product other than marijuana, including cigarettes, tobacco products, alcohol or non-alcoholic beverages or food, free or for compensation. So I can't have free coffee for my people who come in. I can't have food on the premise. I can't offer Pepsi or water. God, Cottonmouth, hello. I can't offer water. I can't offer any of that stuff. And yet a liquor store does it every single day. A liquor store does it every single day. They offer tobacco and snacks and candy and water and jerky and Red Bull and all of that stuff. Why does marijuana have to be treated any different? Why can't we just have that there too? What's the reason behind not allowing any other consumable product? You go in, you just get marijuana. No, it's just not fair. And it's not smart business to do that. I would like to know the reasons why that is the case. Why we have to do it so that we can't even offer water, either free or not, to our guests in our retail store. Doesn't make sense to me. All right, moving on. Section D. A marijuana retail store may not purchase any marijuana or marijuana product for resale without a certificate showing the tax has been paid. What if the cultivation facility needs to sell the product to pay the tax? Right? What if the cultivation facility needs to sell that product to be able to pay the tax? They're not going to be able to prove to you that they've paid the tax because they had to sell the product to pay the tax. So this is a business acumen issue by forcing the business to have upfront capital and extra capital to pay the taxes in advance of making the sale. In advance of making the sale. You were only supposed to charge a tax on something when you actually make the sale, not in advance of making the sale. So, would worry about that one a little bit. So then we go on to 306.315, application for marijuana retail store license. An applicant for a new marijuana retail store license shall, of course, file an application, right? What's required on the application is the information required under Article 1, the operating plans required under Article 1. An addition to the applicant's operating plan for a retail store showing how marijuana and marijuana products at the retail store are to be displayed and sold. So part of your business plan is going to require that you have renderings, 3D renderings that show that you're going to have marijuana here, and this is how it's going to be displayed, and this is how it's going to be sold and processed, and what is it going to look like? So basically, what is your storefront going to look like? Now, it's important to put that cost anyway into your business plan and into your projections, because you should have an idea of what your storefront is going to look like. However, they want that as part of your licensing, your initial licensing plan for that. And of course, I'm sure any renewal licensing will want that as well for that. All right, so let's move on to page 5. Page 5, restricted access area at marijuana retail store. So, each entry into the marijuana retail store must be posted with a sign, much like a bar, says no one under 21 years of age allowed. Okay. The sign must not be less than 12 inches long and 12 inches wide, with letters at least 1/2 inch in height and high contrast to the background of the sign. Very detailed on that sign. So you got to make sure you have that sign. B, an area of the marijuana retail store's licensed premise where marijuana or any marijuana product is stocked for sale or dispensed for sale is a restricted access area and must be signed accordingly. So the marijuana store must post signs, require identification, escort visitors to remain in compliance with Article 7. Talk about Article 7 later. 306.325 does require a marijuana handler permit. So each licensee, employee, or agent obtains a marijuana handler's permit as provided in Article 7. And so the same with any, so any licensee, any employee or agent for that one. And then they must carry that employee or that permit card on them at all times when they are on the licensed premises of the marijuana retail store. Okay, so something where maybe people are going to have lanyards or keep it in their wallet, or but carry it with them at all times. Does that mean they could leave it in their purse in the back in the break room? It's on the premises at that time. I'm just curious on how that would play out. Again, so we move on. So 306.330, identification requirement to prevent sale to person under age of 21. Clearly, this is kind of a given, right? Some sort of a identification. So a licensed marijuana retail store shall refuse to sell marijuana or a marijuana product to any person who does not produce a form of valid identification showing that person is 21 years of age or older, right? So can't produce anything. In this case, though, it doesn't have that same red stripe problem that liquor store or liquor establishments have to deal with, is that we have no red stripe. If you have had a DUI, you have a red stripe, you can still consume cannabis, you just have to be over 21 years of age on that. Now B, another valid form of identification might include an unexpired, unaltered passport, to an unexpired, unaltered driver's license, instruction permit, or identification card of any territory or state of the United States, the District of Columbia, or province of Canada. So, good, we're open to tourists. That's nice. 3, an identification card issued by a federal or state agency authorized to issue a driver's license or identification card. So you're going to fall under that same liquor license thing. You need to make sure that your identification matches what the current state is. So all retail stores are really going to have those books that you'll be able to look up and say, hey, what does California's current license look like? And what does Montana's current license look like? So you're going to have to be able to look through those things, because you know how much of a tourist state we are. It's going to be important that we're able to just real quickly determine what that looks like. And so that'll be a necessary part for all retail stores for that. All right, next section, 306.335, limit on quantity sold. Now, I have a problem personally in general with the limit on quantity sold. You can walk into a liquor store and you can buy 10/5 of alcohol. You could buy 5 cases of beer, and you could buy enough liquor to kill yourself, right? And there is no guideline. There's nobody going, oh, don't do that. There's people going, oh, you must be having a party, dude, right? So there's no guideline on that. It's a product that could kill you if you overdose on alcohol, right? Alcohol poisoning, we've heard it. Cannabis, however, there's no known cause of death by cannabis itself. So having limits on the product in itself, I guess the reefer madness comes into play here, the fear of what can cannabis do, hence they have the limits. So here's where the limits lie. A marijuana or licensed retail marijuana store shall not sell more than the following quantity of marijuana or marijuana product in a single transaction. Now I see some businesses going, well, that was a transaction, and this is a transaction, and how do we define transaction? So I always look at these things all the ways around them and all the ways in them as well. So number 1 ounce of usable marijuana. So I assume that would mean dry herb. So joints, packaged product, just dry herb. So 1 ounce of that. 2, 16 ounces of marijuana infused product in solid form. So that is 2 pounds of edibles. 2 pounds. 2 pounds of edibles will do more to you than 1 ounce of dry herb any day. But, okay, 2 pounds of edibles. So 16 ounces of marijuana infused product in solid form. Number 3, 7 grams of marijuana infused extract for inhalation. So here we have the hash oil, the shatter, the wax, the dab, all that stuff. That's 7 grams of marijuana infused extract. And number 4 is confusing. 72 ounces of marijuana infused product in liquid form. So this could mean the cream soda, amazing cream soda that Baked Alaska makes, right? So this could mean cream soda. This could this mean RSO? Could this mean cannabis oil, coconut oil? That's not for inhalation. So what does that mean? Where is that? 72 ounces of RSO is a tremendous amount. Like, they consider a 60-gram dose of RSO to be a cancer-curing dose of oil. So 72 ounces of marijuana-infused product in liquid form. The only reason I bring this up is that if you're going to get so openly welcome with all of these, the production of it, the produced, if you will, products, and yet you're so incredibly focused on 1 ounce of usable marijuana, that doesn't compute in my brain. And so it seems as if we're trying to place these limits on these things, but they're not limits that make sense in the actual industry. They're not limits that make sense in consumption and whatnot of that case. So some things to think about there with regards to, do we change those limits? Do we bring them down? Do we not place a limit? What's that going to look like on that? So page 7, and we move on to page 7. This here covers 306, 340 health and safety requirements for the marijuana retail store. It's basically one sentence that says a marijuana retail store must comply with applicable health and safety requirements set out in 306, 730, which is Article 7. So that's it. We'll talk about those health and safety requirements next time. Number 3, testing required for marijuana sold at a retail store. So again, a marijuana retail store may not sell, give, or distribute or deliver or offer to sell until all quality assurance testing is required from Article 6 and has completed and labels required in Article 4 and Article 5. We're going to see those as they come out. Number 3, restriction on the advertising of marijuana and marijuana products. And I believe between page 7 and page 8, I have highlighted everything. So let's get to this. Number 1, A. A marijuana retail store may have one sign identifying the store by the marijuana retail store's business name that is visible to the general public from the public right-of-way. The sign may be placed in the store's window or attached to the outside of the licensed premise, and the size of the sign may not exceed 1,600 square inches. 1,600 square inches seems like a big number, but it's not. It's really only 11 square feet, which would be about 2 feet by 5 feet, give or take, and any combination of those numbers. But it's kind of the size of a banner that you might see at a trade show, and that's the biggest your sign can be for that. All right, B, an advertisement for marijuana or marijuana product may not contain any statement or illustration that, 1, is false or misleading, right? Number 2, promotes excessive consumption, because I'm pretty sure alcohol commercials never promote excessive consumption, ever. Number 3, represents the use of marijuana has curative or therapeutic effects. Now this is something that medical users are probably screaming about, because we have to ignore. Now I understand ballot measure 2 says recreational, right? And we've all talked about medical, so somehow the state is trying to make the delineation between the two. But we must ignore the concept of medical marijuana in all of our advertising, in all of our in-store, outside, everything advertising, by saying that it can help you, by not stating it has curative or therapeutic effects. Interesting statement. Number 4, depicts a person under the age of 21 consuming marijuana. So be sure that all of your models for commercials and advertising definitely look over 21. Can't have any question there. Got to make sure that they look older than 21 for that. Number 5, it can't include an object or character, including a toy, a cartoon character, or any other depiction designed to be appealing to children or other persons under legal age, promoting consumption of marijuana. So here, they learned from Camel cigarettes that you just can't have something that might appeal to children. So here we're protecting the children. We're not trying to glorify the use of marijuana for children, that they just don't want your signage or your brand or anything of that nature to have that involved. All right, so then we move on to section C. A marijuana retail store may not place an advertisement for marijuana or a marijuana product within 1,000 feet of the perimeter of any child-centered facility, including a school, daycare, facility providing children, playground, recreation center, public park, a library, or a game arcade that is open to persons under the age of 21. Now, this is contradictory to Article 1, where it says that you can't place your facility more than or under 200 feet away from a child-centered facility. So if you had a sign, you walk in your store, that's advertising. Is that placing advertising within 1,000 feet of a child-centered facility because our store is within 1,000 feet of a child-centered facility? How do you control that? And that seems very contradictory between those two subsections there, for sure. Number 2, you cannot place it on or in a public transit vehicle or a public transit shelter, so not on buses, right? Number 3, or in a publicly owned or operated property. So I would assume this means government establishments, parks, right. So, okay, fair enough. D, and this is the section that I personally, the marketer in me, has a big problem with. All of it. D, a marijuana retail store may not use giveaway coupons, distribute branded merchandise as promotional materials, or conduct promotional activities such as games or competitions to encourage sale of marijuana or marijuana products. This is 100% in conflict with the way alcohol is treated. 100%. I can pull up a coupon for alcohol any day. I can buy something with Anheuser-Busch on it. I can buy keychains and shirts and sweatshirts and hats with all sorts of alcohol stuff on it. All right? Games. Beer pong? Anybody bring it? Yeah, beer pong happens at bars all the time. So saying that we can't have Stoner Olympics or anything that glorifies and says, hey, you know what, we use cannabis and we're damn proud of it and we want to play a bong making contest or a joint rolling contest. You're going to tell me that I can't? I can't have that? I can't have any of that to encourage the use of marijuana? The encouragement of alcohol use has been happening for years. So that doesn't necessarily mean that it shouldn't be done in the marijuana industry. It can be done responsibly, and you can consume responsibly. The giveaway coupons, the distribute branded merchandise. Come on, all of this is against proper sales and marketing in business. Any business. It doesn't matter what the business is. If you have a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, you should be able to sell that in your store. And it's not fair for the board to say, well, I don't think so. I don't think that you should promote the use of marijuana. but we're a store. It's our business is marijuana, by the way. So we're going to promote that in the ways that we do. So, big problem with that section. No other business is allowed to say you can't have branding, you can't have promotional materials. The games thing, it seems like there's a personal vendetta in this sentence right here. There's not a real business acumen, there's not a real logic, there's a personal vendetta in that sentence. So I would highly suggest we change that for sure. In my public comments, I'm sure I'll come up with some way to reiterate that needs to be changed. All right, section E. All advertising for marijuana or marijuana product must contain the following warnings. A, this product has intoxicating effects and may be habit-forming. B, marijuana can impair concentration, coordination, and judgment. Do not operate a vehicle or machinery under the influence of this drug. I suggest we change the word drug to product. It doesn't need to be drug, it's product. Under the influence of this product. Right? C, there may be health risks associated with consumption of this product. No science yet, but we'll get there. And D, for use by adults 21 and older, or for use only by adults 21 and older, keep out of the reach of children. Right, so those are some things that, like your Surgeon General's warning, are going to need to be on your packaging. They're going to need to be in your storefront. There's going to need to be all that kind of stuff with that. All right, so let me move on to page 9. We'll wrap it up here pretty quick. Last thing on the docket is the marijuana inventory tracking system. So section 306.355 requires that there be a marijuana tracking or inventory tracking system. A retail store shall use an inventory tracking system to ensure all marijuana and marijuana products in the store's possession is identified and tracked from the time the marijuana retail store receives any batch of marijuana or lot of marijuana products to the sale, transfer to another licensed marijuana establishment, or disposal of the batch of marijuana or lot of marijuana product. All right, so that's B, or that's A. So B, when any facility delivers to the licensed premises of a retail store, the store must immediately enter identification information for that batch into the tracking system. A marijuana retail store may not accept any marijuana or marijuana product that does not have a valid transport manifest generated from the inventory tracking system. Okay. And a retail store shall reconcile each transactions from the store's point of sale system and current inventory to its inventory tracking system at the close of business each day. So it might be smart to make sure that your POS system and your inventory tracking system can talk to each other. That way you're not duplicating efforts and you've got a good system in place that can do all of that for you. D, a marijuana retail store shall account for any variance in the quantity of marijuana or marijuana product the store received and the quantity the store sold, transferred, or disposed of. Now, it's good to keep track of this stuff. It's smart business to keep track of this stuff. Also, for the Marijuana Control Board's aspect of it and the future of the industry, it's important to keep track of this stuff because it will help them understand the quantities that come through. It'll help them understand what we're actually dealing with here. Because right now, I know we have Colorado, I know we have Washington, but we still look at this stuff as what's going to happen in Alaska? How is the Alaskan market different? And it will be. It'll be significantly different. And we need to treat it different. We need to blaze the trail for how it should be done right. We need to set it up the right way so that we're not waiting until the final state gets their legalization through and they're the ones who get to do it the right way. Let Alaska be the standard for that. Let Alaska show that, yes, you need to have these things so that the marijuana industry can control itself, can show how it works. Tracking is extremely important. It's an extremely necessary business tool for that. All right, and then we turn the page to page 10. There's nothing on page 10. All right, so that covers Article 3. Article 3 has probably the most controversial things in it for me when it comes to businesses actually being able to succeed in this industry. Also, when it comes to whether or not the black market decides to come out and be legal is going to depend on what happens in number 3. If Article 3 is left in its entirety right now, I will predict that the black market will survive strong and the legal market will be weak. Very weak, and not be able to compete with that. because it's limited. It is so limited in its ability to be able to get to the consumer and be treated like a legitimate business, that people are going to be like, why? Why do I need to go into that when this over here looks just as good? And I don't have to pay taxes. And yeah, I risk getting caught, but whatever. So Article 3 is the big deal. It's the big deal about whether or not you can actually get the product to the customer. I know there's people out there that want a dispensary. They want to be able to just, get up and drive to the retail store, buy their product, and go home. Instead of calling up their buddy, hey, can we meet at Safeway in the parking lot? Can we meet at Fred Meyer? Like, it's not the world most consumers want to live in. However, producers are okay living in that world, because if their world becomes so challenged by all of these regs, they're not going to want to come out, and they're not going to want to change it. So it's going to be hard to change all of that if they don't, if these regs don't come out a little bit better on this. So, okay, that's all we have for today with regards to Article 3. Next time, tomorrow, we'll cover Article 7. Article 7 is operating requirements for all marijuana establishments. That sucker is about 15 pages, so I actually might break that up into 2 sections on that, because we're pulling 40 minutes. So if you've been with me this whole time, thank you guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye!